Now at 5 and streaming on CrossroadsToday.com, a repeat offender in Goliad County is back in custody. And multiple authorities in Corpus Christi are searching for a 21-year-old college student. Plus, several musicians are boycotting South by Southwest this year. Their reasonings behind the protest this afternoon.
Well, it's warm and windy for a couple more days, but up here in the Rockies, you see all this stuff? That's the cooler and wetter weekend that's going to be rolling down into our area. So we'll be talking all about that coming up in just a moment. Stay tuned.
A volunteer group in Central Texas is lending a big helping hand to farmers and ranchers affected by the state's Panhandle wildfires. You're watching 25 News Now at 5. Good afternoon and thanks for being with us. I'm Karina Garcia. A suspect detained almost 2 years ago in Goliad County is back in Goliad County Jail. Authorities detained Joaquin Garcia Hernandez back in June of 2022 after a bailout in Goliad County and eventually deported before he was served an arrest warrant. Now he's back in the same jail after his arrest in New Jersey. He's held on charges of engaging in organized criminal activity, evading arrest or detention with a vehicle, and criminal mischief. Hernandez is being held in $41,000 bond and is ineligible for release unless he is deported again. After serving more than 20 years as the District 30 representative, Republican Jeannie Morrison decided against re-election in this past primary. The District 30 race has resulted in a May 28th runoff between former Jackson County Sheriff A.J. Louderback and former Victoria Mayor Jeff Bouknight. Morrison says she will concentrate on making the transition of the new representative as smooth as possible.
Whenever you have a lot of people that want to run, I mean, normally there is a runoff, and so I'm looking forward to the next couple of months and getting ready for the next successor for my job, and going to be working hard for the next year. So I will still be the state representative till next January.
Representative Morrison has endorsed former Mayor of Victoria, Jeff Bouknight. Now today, around 30 people joined Victoria County Sheriff Justin Marr on a tour of the old Victoria Jail in downtown. The bottom floor has some county offices, but the upper floors seem to be frozen in time and need a lot of work. The debate continues on whether to save the jail as part of the city's history or tear it down to make way for growth. County commissioners will take up the issue in the near future. But for now, we have a 15-minute video of the tour at CrossroadsToday.com and on our YouTube channel, bringing us to your beer pool. You can scan that QR code on your screen to vote now. The question is, what do you think should happen to the 1940 jailhouse in downtown Victoria? Preserve it as a historical marker, tear it down, or you're not concerned about it? We want to hear your opinion on this. Come to CrossroadsToday.com/vote to take part. And we're going to have an update on 25 News Now at 6. And with that, let's take it over to your forecast with Chief Meteorologist Mac Bettis.
Thank you very much, Karina. Good afternoon, everyone. Well, it's in the Rockies right now. We've got this warm, windy weather over our area. That's nice, okay? Thing is, all this stuff is going to be dropping into Texas, and your weekend's going to be very different from what we've got right now. It looks wet and cool. Yeah, temperatures dropping from the 80s back to the 60s sometime over the weekend. So we'll be taking a much closer look at what your extended outlook looks like coming up in just a few minutes. Back to you.
Mac, thank you. Authorities in Corpus Christi continue their week-long search for a missing college student. Investigators say 21-year-old Caleb Harris was last seen on March 4th. They say he disappeared, leaving behind his wallet and keys. Harris did have his phone, but it was turned off. By this morning, 3 agencies have worked together to find the missing man, including the Coast Guard. Harris' family is thankful for all the support they have gotten so far, and his father says he's hopeful his son will return home soon. Texas A&M University Corpus Christi held a gathering to support Caleb's family, friends, and classmates. A Texas man who lived in an iron lung for most of his life has died. Paul Alexander died Monday at the age of 78. He lived in the iron lung since he survived polio back in the 1950s. Despite his disability, he practiced law and became a published author. He quickly rose to fame on social media after sharing what it's like to live in an iron lung. While his specific cause of death is unknown, his social media indicated that he recently was hospitalized with COVID-19. More than 60 musicians and panelists slated to perform at South by Southwest in Austin this week are now boycotting the music festival. The reason: to stand in solidarity with the Austin for Palestine coalition and against the festival's ties to military contractors.
Tyler Jordan says he and his band Good Looks love to perform. He's the guitarist and songwriter for the Austin indie rock group with songs that tackle politics and the so-called system.
I think most songwriters just kind of want to be heard or understood, and so that's like a big part of playing live too, right?
They were set to perform at South by Southwest for the third year, but instead his band is joining more than 60 other performers in a boycott of the festival.
It was a really hard decision to come to. We kind of went back and forth, and I will say we weren't the first band to do it.
The Austin for Palestine coalition organized the boycott to protest the inclusion of festival and conference participants Raytheon, its parent company Collins Aerospace, and BAE Systems for their role in helping supply Israel with military equipment and arms.
We wanted to alert these musicians that South by Southwest was platforming these military contractors and simply ask them to make a statement.
Gaza's health ministry says the Israel-Palestine conflict in Gaza has left more than 31,000 Palestinians dead. This follows an October attack by the terrorist group Hamas that killed 1,200 Israelis and left hundreds more held hostage.
At the end of the day, what we want is these military contractors out of our cultural spaces.
Governor Greg Abbott reacted to the boycott on the social media platform X, formerly known as Twitter, writing, quote, "Bye, don't come back. We're proud of the U.S. military in Texas." South by Southwest replied with its own thread saying they do not agree with the governor. Instead, it respects the artist's freedom of speech as an organization that welcomes diverse viewpoints. South by went on to call what's happening in the Middle East tragic, while adding, the defense industry has historically been a proving ground for many of the systems we rely on today and are leaders in emerging technologies. Jordan says all these artists coming together is inspiring, and he hopes the movement only continues to grow.
I think that we're powerful together, and that's really clear.
A protest show and rally is planned outside the Department of Defense stage on Thursday. In response, the Army says it is proud to be a sponsor of South by Southwest because it's an important opportunity to engage with technology innovators. In Central Texas, residents are still under threat of wildfires that started more than 2 weeks ago. But one group is lending a helping hand by donating 1,000 bales of hay to wildfire victims. The group, Operation Cow Chow, has raised more than $14,000. Most of the donations have gone to fuel as the group moved more than 950 bales of hay, some going as far as Oklahoma. The fire in the Panhandles is the largest fire in recorded Texas state history. Texas A&M Forest Service says there are currently at least 70 counties with burn bans still in place. Here are some of the top headlines you can read in the Port Lavaca Wave. During their weekly meeting on March 6, the Calhoun County Commissioner's Court created the Emergency Communications Director position to oversee operations of their new combined dispatch center. Plus, a historic cemetery was rediscovered near Magnolia Beach by a member of the Calhoun County Commissioner. Read these stories and more at theportlavacawave.com. And remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Crossroads Today. Hit the like button and click that notification bell. For now, stay with us. Leaders in the Caribbean and U.S. are in the progress of forming a new Haitian government. Straight ahead on 25 News Now at 5, the latest on the violence in that country. Also ahead, theater students at a university in Waco working on a musical aligning with next month's solar eclipse. A plan to install new leadership in Haiti is crumbling. This as political parties reject the plan to create a presidential council. The panel would be responsible for selecting an interim prime minister and a council of ministers for the Caribbean country. The prime minister, who recently announced his resignation, claims that Haiti's constitution says he needs to sign off the transitional council. But a prominent Haitian gang leader says his coalition would not recognize any government put in place by foreign powers. The violence in Haiti has closed schools and businesses and disrupted daily life. Today, the EU announced that they have set aside $21 million in humanitarian aid for Haiti. The agency says this will help partners address the most urgent needs of the population in terms of protection, food assistance, nutrition, water and sanitation, and healthcare. There will also be funds allocated for education support. The Commission noted that Haiti is the main recipient of EU humanitarian aid in Latin America and the Caribbean, having received over $547 million since 1994. Today, the House passed a bill to ban TikTok in the U.S. if its Chinese owner ByteDance doesn't sell. The bill still faces an uncertain path in the U.S. Senate. If passed, it would lead to a nationwide ban of the video app. ByteDance would have 5 months to sell the social media platform if the bill is enacted. If it does not do that, the bill would prohibit TikTok from being available for download in app stores. President Joe Biden says he would sign it into law if it makes it to his desk. New cases of colon cancer in people under the age of 50 is rising in the U.S. The wife of late actor Chadwick Boseman opens up about the 4 signs commonly seen in this disease.
27,400 blue flags planted on the National Mall in Washington, D.C., representing the number of people under the age of 50 who are projected to be diagnosed with colorectal cancer in 2030.
It makes me angry that a disease so treatable took him from me when all we needed to start out with was knowledge.
Actor Chadwick Boseman died of colon cancer in 2020 at the age of 43. His wife, Simone Ledward Boseman, joined other advocates to rally for more research, treatment options, and funding to battle this disease.
It makes me angry that colorectal cancer diagnoses had been rising so dramatically in young people, and young Black people in particular, for 15 years before he was diagnosed, and we still knew nothing about it. It makes me angry that we don't talk about colorectal cancer the way that we talk about other cancers and other chronic diseases. And it makes me angry that we still have no idea why it's happening.
While the cause of the alarming rise of colorectal cancer in young adults is still unknown, researchers say the 4 most common warning signs in early onset cases of the disease are diarrhea, rectal bleeding, abdominal pain, and iron deficiency anemia. Doctors hope awareness of these symptoms will encourage those who may have them to seek medical care so the disease can be caught earlier when it's more treatable.
Turning pain into purpose is great, but we deserve more.
For Health Minute, I'm Mandy Gaither.
Here's a look at some of the top headlines you can read in the Cuero Record. The DeWitt County Commissioners Court meeting had a full agenda Monday, and the Cuero Chamber of Commerce held a red carpet banquet. Read these stories and more at DeWittCountyToday.com. Musical students at Baylor University are getting ready for next month's total solar eclipse. Baylor theater students are working with Broadway professionals on a unique musical based on a nonfiction book about how eclipse inspired 19th century progress in America. This chance for students to work with professionals gives them an opportunity to display their talents for an up-and-coming production with a project aligning with this historic day. The musical will debut on April 7th, the day before the total solar eclipse.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. Hopefully the eclipse is not today or tomorrow because, as you can see, we got a lot of cloud cover over the area. We've got a temperature right now in the upper 70s, and we're going to be talking about getting into the 80s for the next 2 days, and then everything changes. The weekend is going to be very different. Windy, cooler, and wet. We'll have all that coming up in a moment. Well, good afternoon, everyone. 79 degrees right about now. Of course, the wind has been fairly gusty most of the day. We're looking at our high temperature came in. Well, it's not in just yet, but it'll be probably 79 or 80 because we were up there earlier today. Now, the temperatures are going to be running a little bit above normal for just a couple days, but then we're going on and we start looking for what's happening next? Well, what's happening next is actually in the Rocky Mountains. Let's widen up here. You can see the cloud deck. We did get a little bit of sun there, but the overcast is coming in. We'll have some fog tomorrow. As we widen up even further, you can see right about here in the Rockies, there's a big unstable storm up there. That one's going to be dropping down into Texas and having something to do with your weekend. Look at the temperatures, 81, then 81, then 78, and then all of a sudden we're dropping down into the 60s over the weekend as we've got two little frontal systems coming at us, changing the weather. Now, in the morning, we're likely to see another day of fog. If you have to get up early, just know that it'll be kind of soupy out there. And as we've mentioned earlier, if you're in a windy area, you're probably going to have less fog. But if you're in a quiet valley where there is no wind, you'll probably have more fog. So it's going to be patchy around the area, not super widespread around the region. And that will burn off and we'll stay in the cloudy skies for the afternoon hours. Tomorrow afternoon, as you can see right here, much of northeast Texas will be under the gun for the possibility of some severe weather. It gets down to as far as maybe Austin, but that's where it sort of ends. So we're not expected to get any of that severe weather. Our weather map will show you what we were looking for. Here's the low. It's already coming out of the Rockies. And as we move forward, you can see how this is going to start moving down into Texas. There it is, and it'll be rolling into our area probably late on Friday night into Saturday morning. Then that gives us a bit of a cool down and some stable, some pretty showery weather pattern around the area. Now you'd think, okay, the front came through and then it settles down. No, not really. There's another front coming through very rapidly, which will be actually a cool front, getting us down into the mid-60s. So, you know, we're thinking, oh, we put away all of our stuff for the winter, and it's not necessarily so. Future Tracker will show you how we're looking at the rain to start rolling in. So we'll look at it. This is the light stuff right there. Then you see Friday night and into Saturday, the bigger, heavier activity. And then we go through Saturday, and there you see it right there. So Saturday and Sunday look a little bit on the damp side. So wish I could tell you it was different, but think of all those other Saturdays and Sundays that we had that we got to enjoy. Big story for the weather from my side of the business. California, for the first time for 4 days in a row, used 100% wind, water, and solar to power the entire state. That's pretty big news. Tomorrow, we're looking cloudy skies and a high of 79 in Port Lavaca. And then tomorrow in the Cuero area, we're looking for cloudy skies again and up to 78. But take a look at your 7-day because that's the one that gets interesting. First, we've got the cloudy here, and then we get the late showers Friday. Saturday looks pretty wet, so does Sunday, before we slowly start clearing and get much cooler for the early part of next week. That's your 7-day forecast, reminding everybody we do have a QR code. We'd love for you to scan that, put Crossroads Today on your phone. And now I'd like to thank Karina. Karina helped us out with the weather today.
Yeah, I was trying to follow you, Mac.
Thank you.
You're pretty hard to keep up with. Well, coming up on 25 News Now 5, we're going to take a look at your stocks. Plus, a study revealed a large number of homeowners are uninsured. We have that number next. Taking a look at your stocks, the Dow up 47 points, the S&P 500 down 6 points, and the Nasdaq down 66 points. Oil up $2.16, closing at $79.72 a barrel. A new study reports an upwards of 6 million homeowners in the U.S. do not have home insurance. The study came from the Consumer Federation of America. It found that uninsured property made up 7.4% of all properties in the nation. That comes to a total of $1.6 trillion worth of unprotected property value. It also found a lack of home insurance also contributed to racial inequality. That's because Black, Hispanic, and Native American homeowners disproportionately lack insurance. In Victoria, home prices rose last year. A Texas Realtors report shows the median price of homes in Victoria metro area rose 0.4% in 2023. The median home price is now almost $240,000. 780 homes were sold in the Victoria area last year. That was down almost 24% from 2022. The report shows the availability of homes priced under $300,000 has dropped over 21% since 2017. Community colleges in the state are waiving tuition for a select number of high school students. You can read this Texas Tribune article on our website, crossroadstoday.com. And stay with us. We're going to take one last look at your forecast with Mac. Plus, the rarest stamp in the U.S. is up for auction. Plus, here's a look at world news tonight, right after 25 News Now at 5.
Tonight, the race to get desperately needed aid into Gaza, plus the showdown on the Hill over the vote to ban TikTok. More Americans turn to World News Tonight with David Muir, the most watched newscast on television.
The rarest U.S. stamp is expected to sell for millions of dollars at an auction. It's the 1868 1-cent Z Grill. It features a profile of Benjamin Franklin, the nation's first postmaster general. There's only 2 known copies in the world. The other one is held by the New York Public Library. The one up for auction belongs to a billionaire investor and is expected to sell for up to $5 million.
For a little bit.
Yep. Look at that one right there, $5 million.
I wonder if the glue is any good.
Well, it makes it the most expensive U.S. stamp ever sold. Now, the stamp first was created in 1868, and it's known for its special grill pattern, which was used to detect stamp fraud back in the day. I forget how big stamps were.
For some people,
really
pneumasticists, they call them. It's a hobby and a sport. I'm going, it's a little bitty piece of paper.
Well, that little piece of paper is worth $5 million.
Well, what do I know? I mean,
if I saw that in the street, I wouldn't have looked another way.
Wouldn't have recognized
I probably would have thrown it away.
Yeah. So, and now if they told me Benjamin Franklin actually licked that stamp now, that would be interesting. We'd have his DNA.
Unswab the stamp a little. Yeah.
Well, folks, enjoy the warm weather while we have it. The weekend's going to be very different. 2 little back-to-back fronts coming in with rain Friday night into Saturday and Sunday, and then keeping us in the 60s for the early part of next week. So I guess winter hasn't done its last hurrah. This is maybe the one, though, because it's getting awful late.
Alrighty, thank you, Mac, and thank you for being with us. We hope to see you back here tonight for 25 News Now at 6. World News Tonight with David Muir is up next.